Now at 10, longtime ABC News anchor and correspondent Barbara Walters dies at 93. More on her career spanning over 5 decades coming up.
We have an individual in custody who committed these horrible crimes.
Plus, an arrest in the Idaho murders, what we're learning about the PhD student from Washington State University and where police arrested him. And about a dozen new Utah laws expected to take effect on January 1. Learn more about them before the new year.
Live from Utah's first TV station, ABC4 News celebrates 75 years.
And welcome to the ABC4 News at 10 o'clock on this Friday. I'm Emily Flores. Glenn Mills has the night off. Tonight, a legendary newswoman and a pioneer of journalism, Barbara Walters, has passed away at 93. ABC's Rena Roy has the story.
Barbara Walters, trailblazing broadcast journalist, was known for interviewing the major newsmakers and stars of our time in a news career spanning more than 50 years.
Do you feel funny crossing the Bay of Pigs with an American?
Starting her career as a writer and producer on NBC's Today Show in the early 1960s, Walters went on to become the co-host in 1974.
Good morning. I'm Frank McGee, and Barbara Walters is here.
Becoming the first woman to co-anchor a network morning broadcast.
Take 3, cue Barbara.
Good evening.
After moving to ABC News, Walters became the first woman to co-host a network evening broadcast on the ABC Evening News in 1976.
Thank you, Harry.
Over her career, Walters sat down with world leaders and Hollywood stars.
You would drive me nuts, and I would drive you crazy because I would be saying, but didn't you, or haven't you, or haven't you?
Well, we could try it and see if it worked out.
I think we'll stop and reload.
Interviewing every president and first lady from Richard Nixon on.
Are you sorry you didn't burn the tapes?
Yes.
Does it bother you today when people say Ronald Reagan is the president of the rich? How important is it for the president to be a role model? Was it worth it if there were no weapons of mass destruction? Why are you so unpopular?
From 1979 to 2004, Walters was the co-host and a producer of ABC's 2020. And in 1997, she created and co-hosted the daytime talk show, The View, retiring in 2014.
This is my legacy. I look forward to not having a schedule.
In her personal life, Walters was married more than once and is survived by her adopted daughter, Jackie.
I look back and I think, I wish I had been with her more. I was so busy with a career. I wish I had spent more time with my Jackie.
The woman who spent her career probing others asked how she'd like to be remembered herself.
I want to be remembered by my daughter as a good and loving mother. I want to be remembered by my friends as somebody who was loyal. I want to be remembered in television, maybe as a creator, maybe as a good newswoman. No, more than being remembered, I hope that by younger women, I can help them aspire.
Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
All right, our other top story locally is the weather. But Thomas, I have to say, she was such an inspiration to me, so I give it to you. Barbara Walters, your legend lives on.
I mean, that's all you have to say. She was an absolute legend in our field, and just rest in peace. Again,
yes.
Can't really find the words to describe just what she meant to the industry.
Such an icon.
Yeah, but it's hard to segue, but we're going to. We're going to go ahead and talk about the weather because it's going to be a big talking point as we go throughout the New Year's Day weekend, as we got stormy weather that has moved in and it's going to be sticking around through the New Year's Day weekend. Let's go ahead and take you to the storm tracker radar, where in northern Utah, that's where we're seeing the bulk of the wet weather, mainly in the form of valley rain and mountain snow, but there are a few showers in southern Utah, and you might not see anything down in St. George, but St. George is at least picking up a little bit of light rain tonight. But along the Wasatch Front, we're mainly seeing rain. But however, for you in Cache Valley, we've seen that rain transition back over into snow. Not really seeing too many issues out on the roadways just yet, but if that snow continues, well, then we could obviously see some issues. But the mountains, they are seeing snow, and we're going to be talking about times of heavy mountain snow over the next few days. Here's the view from here at ABC4 News Studios with our Colonial flag. A southerly wind has helped keep those temperatures on the mild side comparatively to this time of year, where we're sitting at 41 degrees. And I mentioned just a little while ago that in Logan, we have seen the rain switch back over into snow. So in northernmost Utah, in our northernmost valleys, we've seen that transition back into snow. So cool to see there, but just be careful out on the roadways, as a lot of the roadways will be at least running wet. And then as you get above 6,000 feet, they could get quite slushy rather quickly. But as mentioned, our mountains, we're expecting times of heavy mountain snow. We have the winter storm warnings that are currently in effect. The southern mountains, that'll begin tomorrow, but through early Monday morning for most of our mountains, we're expecting between 1 to 3 feet of snow. And in places like the upper Cottonwood Canyons, we could pick up between 4 and 5 feet of snow. So above 7,000 feet, we could see travel become very difficult, if not impossible. And the avalanche danger is also going to be running high throughout this weekend as well. So impacts weather-wise throughout this New Year's Day weekend, but we're going to break down the timeline and what you can expect coming up in your forecast in just a few minutes. Emily?
All right, thank you so much, Thomas. Tonight, a huge development in the murder case of 4 University of Idaho students. A 28-year-old man arrested this morning in Pennsylvania in connection to the case. ABC's Kana Whitworth has more.
Tonight, the suspect at the center of the brutal stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students under arrest, identified by investigators as 28-year-old Brian Koberger, taken into custody Friday morning by Pennsylvania State Police and federal agents some 2,500 miles away in a town north of Philadelphia.
These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students. We do believe justice will be found through the criminal process.
Investigators revealing the suspect was a graduate student at Washington State University. Just 10 miles away, this house is where Moscow police located the bodies of roommates Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, and Zena Coronado, and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin. 2 other roommates believed to have slept through the killings were not injured. Kaylee's father, Steve Gonsalves, up on learning of the arrest.
This guy's going to have to look me in my eyes multiple times, and I'm going to be looking for the truth.
Investigators say DNA evidence led them to suspect Koberger, but they wouldn't say whether he knew any of the victims. They also said they have not recovered any murder weapon. Koberger now charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary.
He is being held without bond, and the warrant from our magistrate judge here also provides for no bond.
A sigh of relief for this small college town.
I think it'll be a massive exhale for a lot of people.
Now hoping for answers and a possible motive as to why and how this could have happened. Koberger due back in court in Pennsylvania on Tuesday for an extradition hearing. DeMarco Morgan, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Thank you, DeMarco. Now to developing news out of southern Utah. Hurricane school for troubled teens on probation after one of their students dropped dead. Utah Health and Human Services placing Diamond Ranch Academy on conditional status 1 day after 17-year-old Taylor Goodridge died. The school not able to admit any new students until an investigation into her cause of death and events leading up to it ends. We spoke to the young woman's mother, who said Taylor lit up every room she walked into and inspired her younger siblings.
They're taking it kind of hard too, because they were, especially my 9-year-old daughter, she really looked up to her big sister. When Taylor did cheerleading, that's what Alina wanted to do. And so she did cheer this year, and that's all she could talk about.
Taylor's mom telling us the school said Taylor was recovering from a serious flu when she died, but officials have not confirmed this. Taylor is the second student attending a Utah program for troubled teens to die this year. Now, the academy is now facing a lawsuit and released a statement this evening saying, quote, "We are cooperating fully and transparently with the state of Utah as they investigate the tragedy. The safety of these students is our #1 priority, and we are continually striving to provide the best care possible to our students and families. It is the policy of Diamond Ranch Academy to not publicly comment on pending litigation." And skiers saying they're lucky to be alive tonight after an avalanche earlier today, one of them nearly buried in snow. The incident happening on the Ogden-Ben Lomond Rodeo Ridge seen here. Now, the skiers say they observed significant cracking and collapsing during their ascent and that they didn't do a proper ski cut before skiing the slope. Although one of the skiers took a beating by tumbling snow, no major injuries occurred. They say it's embarrassing to admit they screwed up, but fortunately it didn't turn out worse. A good reminder for all of us to pay attention to those avalanche warnings.
So this multi-day storm is going to lead to big snow amounts, dense, heavy snow, wind-driven snow. Any avalanche that's going to be triggered is going to break deep. It's going to break wide. I mean, we are talking dangerous tree-snapping avalanches. This is nothing to mess around with in our backcountry.
For the most up-to-date information on avalanche warnings, you can visit utahavalanchecenter.org. And new at 10, you may hear some loud noises in the sky starting next week, but don't be alarmed. Here's your warning. Starting Tuesday, the Third Hill Air Force Base will conduct local night flying operations on most weekdays in January. During this period, flying is scheduled to be completed by about 11:30 p.m., but exact days and times may vary based on a number of factors. Hill's fighter wings must train at night to maintain their combat readiness and all-weather capabilities. Okay, and about a dozen new laws will go into effect as we cross into the new year, including a new Consumer Privacy Act, property tax changes, and crime victim protections. Of those, the Consumer Privacy Act bill is prominent. The new law will give consumers more rights over their personal information collected by companies. Utah will join California, Colorado, Connecticut, and Virginia this year enacting privacy protections. Now, for a full list of these new laws, you can visit our website, abc4.com. And coming up, Trump's tax filings now public after a push by the Democrats. Some of the never-before-seen information from nearly 6,000 pages.
And our active weather started today, and we're seeing even heavier snow up in our mountains, especially in our northern Utah mountains right now. But by the time we get throughout this weekend, most of our mountains will pick up between at least 1 to 3 feet of snow, with maybe higher amounts possible in a few spots. We'll break down those details and what we can expect in our valleys coming up in Utah's most accurate forecast shortly after the break.